I am 82 years old, and I was a soldier for most of my life. I know what it feels like to hold a weapon, to follow orders without question, to watch men die beside you and still keep moving forward, to survive things that were never meant to be survived. I was trained to be strong. I was trained to be ready. I was trained to fight, but nobody, not one single person, ever trained me how to live. And that is the biggest mistake of my entire life. Not a mistake I made on a battlefield, not a mistake I made in a war. A mistake I made every single morning when I woke up and told myself the same lie that soldiers tell themselves for decades. Later. I will do it later. I thought I had time. I was wrong. If you are watching this right now, if you are 30 or 40 or even 60, I need you to stop whatever you are doing. Because what I am about to tell you is something I wish someone had told me 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Before I gave the best years of my body, my mind, and my heart to something that never once asked me how I was feeling. War does not care about you. Duty does not love you back. And strength, real strength. I did not understand what that word even meant until I was already old, until the people I should have been strong for were already gone. I have outlived my wife. I have outlived two of my closest friends. I have outlived the version of myself that still had a chance to change things. And I sit here now, 82 years old, body worn, hands that have seen too much. And I think about all the moments I was present in body, but completely absent in soul. I was at the dinner table, but I was still in the war. I was holding my children, but I was still following orders in my mind. I was home, but I was never there. They asked me once, my daughter asked me once, "Dad, do you love us?" She was 7 years old. I told her, "Of course I do." But I said it the way a soldier answers a commanding officer. Quick, automatic, no feeling behind it. She nodded and walked away. And I watched her go and felt nothing, because I had spent so many years turning off my feelings that I didn't even know they were gone. I thought that was discipline. I thought that was what a strong man looked like. I was wrong. That was not discipline. That was damage. And the most painful thing about damage like that is that you don't see it while it's happening. You only see it at the end, when the war is over, when the career is finished, when the house is quiet and the grandchildren don't visit as often as you hoped, and you sit in a chair by the window and you ask yourself one question: what was all of it for? I have been asking myself that question for years now, and the answer, when it finally came, broke something open inside me, because the answer was not what I expected. It was not the medals that mattered. It was not the rank. It was not the missions or the victories or the years of service. It was something so simple, so human, so close, and yet I spent an entire lifetime running away from it. I joined the military at 19, not because I was brave, not because I believed in something greater than myself. I joined because I didn't know what else to do. My father had served, his father had served. It was simply what the men in our family did. You didn't ask questions. You put on the uniform and you became part of something bigger than yourself. And for a long time, a very long time, that felt like enough. I was good at it, genuinely good. I followed orders well. I moved up in rank faster than most men my age. By the time I was 30, I had more responsibility than I knew what to do with. And I wore that responsibility like armor. That is the only word for it, armor. Because inside the structure of military life, you never have to ask yourself the hard questions. Someone tells you where to be. Someone tells you what to do. Someone tells you what matters and what doesn't. And you follow. And in the following, there is a strange kind of peace. I mistook that peace for purpose. I remember my wedding day, 1968. My wife, her name was Clara. She wore a simple white dress. No grand ceremony. No long reception. I had to return to base 3 days later. She stood at the door when I left. She didn't cry. She had already learned not to. I told myself she was strong. What I didn't understand then was that she wasn't strong. She was just already used to being alone. We had 2 children, a son and a daughter. I was there for both births, barely. I remember holding my son for the first time. He was so small, so completely helpless. And I don't know how to explain this, I felt afraid. Not the fear I knew from combat. Something quieter than that, something deeper. Because a weapon you can train for, a mission you can prepare for. But a child looks at you and needs something you cannot learn in any training exercise. He needed me to be present. He needed me to be soft. He needed me to show him that a man can be both powerful and gentle at the same time. I didn't know how to do that. So instead, I did what I always did. I worked harder. I stayed longer. I earned more medals, more promotions, more respect from men who would never meet my son. And I told myself I was doing it for them, for my family. That was the lie I lived inside for 30 years. The truth I could not face then, was that the military was easier than my own home. War was easier than sitting across from my wife at dinner and truly seeing her. A battlefield had clear enemies, clear objectives, clear rules. But love has no rules. Family has no clear objectives. And the enemy in a marriage is never the other person. It is your own silence, your own absence, your own inability to simply say, I am here. I see you. You matter more than any of this. I never said those words enough. Not to Clara, not to my children, not to the people who deserved to hear them most. And the medals on my wall, there are many of them. Not one of them ever looked at me and said, well done. Not once. But I remember the way Clara looked at me on our last anniversary together, before she got sick. She looked at me like she was searching for someone she had once known. And I realized, in sitting across from her at that small table, that she had been searching for a long time. Clara was diagnosed in the spring. I remember the exact moment the doctor said the word, cancer, stage 3. I was sitting in that hospital chair in my old jacket, the same kind of rigid posture I had held for decades in briefing rooms, and I heard the word, and my body did not move. A soldier's reflex, stay composed, process later. But Clara, she reached over and took my hand, and her hand was shaking, and mine was completely still, and I hated myself for that. I hated that even in the worst moment of our lives together, I could not let her feel me breaking, because I was breaking. I just didn't know how to show it. We had 14 months after the diagnosis, 14 months that I spent trying to fix something that could not be fixed. I researched treatments. I called doctors. I organized, I planned, I prepared, and because that is what I knew. That is what I'd always done. Turn fear into action, turn pain into a mission. But Clara didn't need a mission. She needed me to sit with her. Just sit, do nothing, say nothing. Just be there without an agenda, without a plan, without trying to solve what could not be solved. One evening, maybe 3 months before the end, she looked at me and said something I have never forgotten. She said, you have been fighting your whole life, but you never fought for us the way you fought for everything else. She wasn't angry when she said it. That was the most painful part. She was just tired. Tired of waiting for a version of me that had never fully arrived. I sat with those words for a long time, longer than I have sat with anything in my life. And at first, I'm ashamed to say this, at first I felt defensive. I wanted to list everything I had done, every sacrifice, every year of service, every paycheck, every roof over their heads. But then something happened. Something broke open in me that night, quietly. No dramatic moment, no sudden revelation, just a slow, painful collapse of everything I had used to explain myself for 60 years. And I saw it clearly for the first time. I had confused providing with loving. I had confused being present in a house with being present in a life. I had confused endurance with strength. A soldier endures. That is what we are trained to do. We push through pain, we suppress feeling, we keep moving no matter what. And for a war, for a battlefield, that is the right tool. But you cannot endure your way through a marriage. You cannot suppress your way into your children's hearts. You cannot keep moving and expect the people you love to still be standing there when you finally stop. Later never came for me the way I planned. I thought I had time. I was wrong. Clara passed on a Tuesday morning. The room was quiet. I was holding her hand, and this time, my hand was the one that was shaking. And she was the one who was still. I walked out of that hospital and I stood in the parking lot for a very long time. The sun was coming up. Everything around me was moving. Cars, people, the ordinary world continuing without interruption. And I stood there and thought, for the first time in my life with complete honesty, I do not know who I am without the uniform. That was the beginning, not of healing, not yet, but of finally telling myself the truth. Here is what I believed for most of my life. I believed that a man who provides is a man who loves. I believed that showing up physically, financially, reliably was the fullest expression of care that a man could give. I believed that emotions were weakness. That silence was dignity. That keeping everything inside was the same thing as being strong. I was wrong about all of it. And I do not say that to punish myself. I am 82 years old. I do not have the energy left for punishment. I say it because I need you to hear it before you make the same choices I made and arrive at the same empty place I arrived at. Because here is the truth that no uniform, no rank, no career will ever teach you. People do not remember what you provided. They remember how you made them feel. Read that again. People do not remember what you provided. They remember how you made them feel. My son does not talk about the house I paid for. He does not talk about the school fees or the holidays or the years of financial stability. When he talks about his childhood, on the rare occasions that he does, he talks about absence, about a father who was always somewhere else, even when he was in the same room. That is my legacy in his memory. Not the medals, not the missions, the absence. And I think about how many people are building the same legacy right now, today, while they read messages on their phone during dinner, while they choose 1 more hour at the office over 1 hour at home, while they tell their children, not in words but in actions, you are not the priority right now. You think they don't feel it. They feel it. Children are not fooled by provision. They are fed by presence. And the hunger that comes from a parent's emotional absence, that hunger follows a person for their entire life. I have seen it in my son's eyes. A grown man, and still, underneath everything, still looking for something I should have given him 40 years ago. I thought I had time, later never came. Here is the second truth. Strength is not the absence of feeling. Strength is the courage to feel and still remain, to sit in the discomfort of love, because love is uncomfortable. It asks you to be vulnerable. It asks you to admit need. It asks you to say, I am afraid and I am sorry and I need you. Words that a soldier is trained never to say. But those words, those exact words, are what hold a life together. Not discipline, not performance, not achievement. The willingness to be seen, fully, without armor. I wore armor for 60 years. And when I finally took it off, standing in that hospital parking lot, sun coming up, Clara already gone, there was nothing underneath it that I recognized. I had protected myself so completely that I had disappeared inside the protection. That is the cruelest thing about living behind walls. You keep everything out, but you also keep yourself in, and the version of you that your family needed. The soft one, the open one, the one who could cry and laugh and sit still and say I love you without making it sound like a report. That version never got to live. I think about that man sometimes, the one I could have been. He was always there, waiting. I just never let him out. Don't make my mistake. Whatever you're hiding behind right now, your work, your ambition, your silence, your pride, it is not protecting the people you love. It is only protecting you from them. And the day will come, I promise you, the day will come when you would give everything you have ever earned, everything you have ever achieved, for just one more ordinary evening with the people you took for granted. One more dinner, one more conversation, one more chance to say what you always meant to say but never found the moment for. Later never came for me. Don't let it be the same for you. I want to talk to you directly now, not as a soldier, not as an old man with regrets, just as someone who has been where you are going and who can see from this end of the road what you cannot yet see from where you are standing. You are busy. I know. You have responsibilities, deadlines, bills, ambitions, things that feel urgent, things that feel important. And every day you wake up and you move through that list and you tell yourself that the people who matter, the ones waiting quietly at home, the ones who have stopped asking for your attention because they already know the answer, you tell yourself they understand. They don't understand. They are just waiting. And waiting has a limit. I do not care how successful you are. I do not care how hard you have worked or how much you have sacrificed or how many years you have given to something you believed in. If the people in your life feel alone while standing next to you, then something has gone deeply, quietly wrong. And the terrifying thing is you will not feel it happening. That is the cruelest part of this kind of loss. It does not arrive like a battle. It does not announce itself. It happens in small moments you don't notice. A child who stops running to the door when you come home. A partner who stops sharing the small things because they already know you are not really listening. A friendship that fades because you were always too busy to simply show up. These are not dramatic moments. They are quiet ones. And quiet losses are the ones that hollow you out completely. I thought I had time. I was wrong. Later never came. Don't make my mistake. You still have something I no longer have. You have today, not tomorrow, not next year. Not after the promotion or after the project is finished or after the children are older and life slows down. Because life does not slow down. It speeds up. And one morning you will wake up and the house will be quiet in a way that it was never quiet before. And you will reach for your phone out of habit. And then you will put it down. And you will sit there in that silence and you will feel the full weight of every moment you chose something else over the people who needed you. That morning comes for everyone. The only question is what you will have left when it does. So I'm asking you, not as a warning, but as a plea from someone who learned this too late. Go home tonight and be there, not in body, in soul. Put down whatever you are carrying for just 1 hour and look at the people in your life like they are the most important thing in the world. Because they are. They always were. You just forgot. We all forget. Life is loud and it pulls us in 100 directions and we forget what we came here for. But you are watching this right now for a reason. Something in you already knows the thing I am telling you. Something in you has been trying to remind you for a long time. Listen to it before the house goes quiet, before the chair across from you sits empty, before you are 82 years old looking out a window, holding a life full of achievements and wondering why it feels so hollow. I was a soldier for 60 years. War taught me how to survive. But it took losing everything soft and beautiful in my life to teach me what survival was actually for. Don't wait for the loss. Be the person they need you to be, right now, while you still can.